Hello there, welcome to this. This is a sort of PS video to my essential progressive rock albums 1969 to 74 video, which when I posted it, I expected to get about 500 views and maybe 6 comments, but it's actually proved to be a lot more popular than that. And so many thanks to one and all for that. Looking down the comments, it appears that there may be one particular album that I missed out of my list. Of course, everybody's got an opinion on this. Various people have weighed in for particular bands that weren't featured. But I think the one album that's come up in comments most of all, and so therefore I'm kind of adding it in, is Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. And this is quite an early copy with the original newspaper sleeve, which I acquired very many years ago. Why didn't I include it in the list in the first place? I think it's probably because I'm not 100% convinced that Jethro Tull are a progressive rock band. I've always sort of thought of them as being rock, heavy rock, folk, sort of combination of all of those things combined. And actually interesting, I found a quote from Ian Anderson from 1968. And what he said was, stylistically, I've always said that we can't be a heavy riff group because Led Zeppelin are the best of the world at that. We can't be a blues influenced R&B rock and roll group because the Stones are the best in the world at that. And we can't be a slightly sort of airy-fairy, mystical sci-fi synthesizing abstract freakout group because Pink Floyd are the best in the world. And so what's left? And that's what we've always done. We've filled the gap. So I don't know, are Jethro Tull, in the same kind of mix as Yes and Genesis? I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of you out there seem to think so, and you also seem to think this is their probably most progressive album, albeit one that, if you read the various accounts of it, was one that was meant to kind of poke fun a bit at progressive rock and concept albums and things like that. So Ian Anderson set out to record the mother and father of all progressive rock concept albums, but I'm not convinced, that they're right up there in the pantheon of progressive rock groups, because I think they're more of a kind of a heavy blues folk rock group, but that's just my opinion. As I've got you, I do want to nominate 2 further albums in my kind of also rans, I would say, for essential, or should we say recommended progressive rock groups between 69 to 74. Both of them come from 1974, and both of them originate in Holland, strangely enough. And the first of these rose out of the fact that many years ago, I published a Focus fanzine. It was around about 1990, 1991. And it ran to a couple of issues and maybe a couple of 100 copies, which is not bad considering that Focus were hellishly unfashionable at the time. But somebody contacted me and said that they had a kind of record collection relating to Focus for sale. Would I be interested? And so off I went to somewhere or other, Watford, Luton, I'm not entirely sure. And back I came with a clutch of records, including this one. And this is the debut album by a band called Trace, recorded on Vertigo in 1974. And Trace are probably most comparable to, I don't know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer maybe. The guy at the top is Rick van der Linden, who is a kind of keyboard wizard. There's the bassist and also occasional guitarist Jaap van Eyck. And this guy you might recognize as Pierre van der Linden, formerly the drummer of Focus. I nearly said another band there by mistake, whoops. And this is a surprisingly good album, actually. Some people classify this as symphonic prog, something like that, whatever that is. Rick van der Linden was part of a Dutch group called Exception, and Exception were one of those bands that took classical themes and sort of rocked them up a bit, and sometimes quite literal things like Flight of the Bumblebee and Bach's Toccata and Fugue, all that kind of thing. So it was quite sort of literal classical music set to a rock beat, which is the sort of thing that's not fashionable in this country, never really has been. But with Trace, he sort of stepped further into the rock world, and he acquired himself, in my opinion, an absolutely fantastic drummer in the form of Pierre van der Linden. should we just have a little listen to an extract? So that's Trace. Now for my other nomination, which is an album which, to the best of my knowledge, has never been issued on CD and actually only appeared on streaming platforms a couple of years ago. And it is an album called Sister Slick by the Chris Hinze Combination. That's a very kind of Dutch way to name your group, isn't it? And this was recorded in 1974, by the look of it, on about 3 or 4 days. And amongst other things, Chris Hinze, as you can guess from the cover, is a flautist, and his work encompasses a really wide range: classical, world music, and also sporadic forays into jazz rock. And I think this is more of a jazz rock album than a progressive rock album, but it belongs to that period of time anyway. It's interesting the sort of sidemen you've got on this album. You've got Philip Catherine on guitars, John Lee on bass, and Jerry Brown on drums. They're a formidable rhythm section. Well, have a listen to this. Yeah, so that's the Chris Hinze Combination's Sister Slick from 1974. A bit of a sort of an outlier from the world of progressive rock, probably more on the jazz rock spectrum, but certainly definitely worth a listen. And at last, as of a couple of years ago, you can actually at least stream it on Spotify and I think other platforms as well. But you won't find it on CD unless, like me, you made one for yourself, having transcribed the record. Whilst I've got your attention, and this might seem like a little bit of vanity, I don't know, I do make my own music. I have done for many, many years. I think I did my first overdub recordings when I was about 14. And I have done some new stuff this year. It's very synth-based. It's possibly got a bit of Tangerine Dream influence here and there. And right at the end of this video, there's going to be some links where you can find it. So if you want to, have a listen by all means. In the meantime, thanks for looking at this video, and I may see you again. I just don't know.